Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. I'm Roy.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we're going to be talking about why you should be doing live demos.
That's right.
In our earlier years when we did craft shows, when we first started doing craft shows and we started doing street festivals and things of that nature, art shows, stuff like that, we did not do any sort of demonstrations. We didn't have a portable setup. And we just kind of set up a table with a nice little skirting in our work, so a display of our work. So, and you know, you can tell them a little bit about the reactions from customers we would get and stuff. So
yeah, it was harder to draw their attention in when we just had a display. They would sometimes they'd like look at our prices and then, or they wouldn't interact. They would sometimes scoff at our prices and things like that, and they would just walk on by, or they wouldn't come up to us and engage in any sort. And so we kind of found that discouraging.
Yeah, you want to feel pretty low, go to a craft show and have people like, oh, on something that took you 6 hours. That'll make you feel pretty low about yourself and about your ironwork. But what we realized is we realized a real change, and it was kind of a secret hack, and this is where we come into why you should be doing live demos. Anywhere that we set up, and it was night and day difference. If we set up without a live demonstration of the craft, we would maybe make $100. Maybe.
More like 50.
Maybe $100, yeah. And it was probably more like $50 for showing up, just enough to cover gas. Not a whole lot of anything. Okay, and then when we switched to where I brought out a little propane forge setup, it was like a little 1-brick forge, and I started doing some little hooks and stuff. We sold out. That was our very first time we ever did a live demonstration, and I had like the most portable setup you could get. Like, I literally put a torch through the petrol hole of the anvil, and it was blowing hot. You know, it was blowing my flame right here, and I was just like doing little, nail hooks, and I was doing like, real small little fidgety stuff, and everything that was in the gallery at that time sold. Every last piece sold. And it's because people got to get engaged with what I was doing, and they understood then, it went in here, that, oh, these aren't just stamped out. These are actually handmade. And you would think they would think that just because it was in an art gallery. But they didn't, because they didn't get that. They had a disconnect of how much time it took to make something, and that's why it wasn't selling, because I was asking what I was worth for the time, but they didn't have the disconnect of the time. And so when they saw me make something small like a little S hook, and they saw that they had to stand there for 10 minutes for me to make that little S hook, when they'd go into that gallery and see that rose that was beautifully done, and I told them it took me 6 hours to make it, they bought it no problem. No questions asked.
Yep.
Didn't they? I mean, they went right after it. And so it was night and day difference. And we said, well, this is crazy. We sold out. Maybe it's a fluke. So we did a First Friday event, and it was called Urban Nights, and it's in Dayton, Ohio, and they have an art scene.
Turns out they discontinued it this year.
Oh, they discontinued it this year. Yeah. But we haven't done it in several years. Been too busy. Building our online presence. But we did this Urban Nights thing, and I'm like, well, we'll see how it goes. And we noticed something else cool. We noticed that as long as I was making that anvil ring out joyously, people were at our table buying our items.
Yeah. And there was a crowd, literally. You could see a ring of people standing around watching.
At one point, I had up to about 120 people standing around watching our booth. Now, there's all these other sellers out there that are getting jealous because they're trying to sell their artwork, but they don't have live demos. They're not having demonstrations. And let's face it, guys, no one can compete with a blacksmith. I mean, we're going to make noise, and we're going to make sparks and fire, and it's just cool. Anybody sees really hot material, they're like, oh, what's that doing? Even if they're not interested in buying something, they just might be after they watch what you're doing. It's kind of like glass blowing. Glass blowers, they're the only other medium, I think, out there that has that same shock and awe value. I know I'm always like really intense about watching a live glass blowing demonstration. Still one on my bucket list, something I want to do someday. But there was a real correlation between the time I set down the hammer and stopped swinging to take a drink of water or a break and people leaving our table.
Yep.
And from me swinging a hammer and people showing up at our table, there was always a correlation between that. So it's good to have a buddy system. So if you're a one-man show, it's very hard for you to watch your own table and do the demo.
Right.
So you
it definitely helps. It helps to have a partner there. I would be at the presentation table and people would ask me some questions. Sometimes they would ask about what was going on with Roy Forging, like what kind of project he was making. It also gave me a chance to and encourage them, hey, pick up this item, feel it, and they, once they held it in their hands, they really started looking it over and like looking at the detail, and it started clicking with them a lot more, the amount of work and all the details in the piece, than them just standing there even.
And that's another trick for you. We had found that if you can get somebody to pick it up and start holding it, and you're talking to them and talking about the weather, maybe not even talking about the item, but they're holding it and they're looking at it and they're turning it over and over and they just can't get over it, if it feels good in the hand, things like that, you are 10 times more likely to sell that item to them than if they just saw it on the table. Yeah, it's nice, and they're walking on. That's if they would stop long enough and you could encourage them to pick up an item and say, it won't break, take a look at it, take a look at it. There's a lot of detail we put in this and stuff. Those people, 9 times out of 10, they would buy. They would purchase something off your table. And that's kind of a good way. That's a hack, a survival hack there.
Yeah, one of our
items. Distinguishing looky-loos.
Yeah, one of them was a rose. One thing that people really like to look at was, we'd say, this rose actually smells like a rose. And it was a metal rose. And what we did, we took a piece of felt, put some...
trade secret.
Oh, I can't say that one?
No, go ahead.
Okay. We put some rose oil on it and then put it down in the rose where you couldn't see it. Yep. And it actually put off a rose-like fragrance.
And that's been a really long, old trick that's just tradition that's been around for a long time. Now, I'm definitely not a genius here, but that right there, that was the difference between getting a sell and not getting a sell. Because, they pick it up, it's dead, it's metal, it's whatever. But then they're like, oh, well, that kind of feels good. And you're like, it smells like a rose. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
And they go.
Shocking, almost.
And sure enough, man, they couldn't put it down after that. And they just, they're giving whiffs to the rest of the people in the crowd. And, some people unwillingly. And then they become their own biggest sellers. So live demos work. Live demos work. Do your best.
Right.
If you can, to do a live demo. No matter how simple and cheap your setup is, it is worth it. If you're at a Pioneer event, you need to dress the part. Look the part, sell the part, get a persona, do it. It sells. It sells Ironwork, and ultimately, that's why you're there for.
Yeah.
You're trying to make a living at it, and that's the whole reason why you brought your setup, and you had the travel costs and everything else. It's so much worth it to take and incorporate live demos.
Yeah, definitely. You get different kinds of attention too for doing live demos, which is great. Sometimes you get invited to other events, which has happened a ton of times for us.
Yep. I've been on TV 4 times on the local news station.
Yep, he's been interviewed. The reporters and stuff were walking around seeing what all was going on at the event, and they heard the Blacksmith, so they just had to go over and check it out and interview him a little bit. And
I was way less comfortable on camera than what I am now. So we have well over 125, 130 videos probably by now on YouTube. And one of those first interviews, I was like, hi, I'm Roy. I probably didn't make a very good impression. I was scared of the lens, it was... It's a little intimidating when a news crew's got their camera in your face and a lady's asking you questions with a microphone. It's a bit more intimidating than you might think. But it also opened up a lot of other open doors. Some people were saying, they'd say, hey, I saw you on TV, or hey, I saw you at the last craft venue or whatever. Weren't you that guy? And then you're like, yeah, the blacksmith. And they're like, yeah, that guy. And then yeah, you get a little notoriety and reputation, and that helps sell your work as well.
That you did. You can also, other places you can do live demos. Roy got asked to do some for Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts, yeah.
He did a couple of those. And that's a good way to give back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
You may or may not make money doing something like that if you're invited to a place to do it for a nonprofit organization.
And if you're a knife maker, you're a shoe-in with the Boy Scouts. Oh, you're just I got asked, I'm making a rose. I'm making a flower in front of these kids' eyes. It's the Boy Scouts. They don't care about no flowers. Ask, can you make a sword? I'm like, next kid, can you make a knife? Next kid, how about a letter opener? Gotta ask that 50 different times from at least 50 different kids, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you already asked that question. And so, yeah, so if you're a knife maker, you're shooing with that. But yeah, I mean, and, there's just different community outreach events where you could actually, inadvertently drum up a lot of business just by doing and providing that value out up front first to your local community. Because as I've said in our other Business of Blacksmithing series videos, with the you versus them video, we'll put a link to that in the description. If no one knows you exist, they can't buy your items.
That's right.
And so sometimes there's no door open. There's no door open whatsoever for you to get in at selling at an art gallery or selling it wherever, and no one knows about you. So maybe that's your only avenue, is to do some pro bono work first. Do some free work.
Or sometimes
and
you'll
to get
even
the
have
exposure.
to pay. You'll have to even pay the booth space at first.
Yep,
But
we've done that
once
multiple
people
times,
start knowing about you, you'll get invited places for free. And you can actually get paid to be an attraction for certain places.
Yep.
Even.
Especially with how well known you may become and things like that. I was just getting to that point when I had to get out of it because of our online business really took off. And, it would have been interesting to see where that go. I certainly know a bunch of other guys that have went that route, and they make good money. I mean, they get to travel, they get to go to one place and they say, hey, we want you back next year. And they just travel a circuit and they just do shows, and it worked very well for them. Yeah. So do live demos if you can. Do them at your shows if you can. That'll help sell your ironwork. And maybe, another thing, since we live in the 21st century, maybe you guys might even consider starting your own YouTube channel. And maybe if that YouTube channel is not for, because you want to be a teacher, an instructor, or you want to do projects for people, you could even do some shorts, clips of what you're doing and what you work. And you can offer that on a business card to somebody and say, hey, why don't you check out my work? Or why don't you check out a day in my shop? And, give it to them. And then they can browse your videos on whatever you're doing. And it don't even have to be you speaking. So you don't even have to be comfortable on the camera. It could just be some cool action shots of forging. And then that there is like a live demo. I mean, it's literally like a live demo, and people get the same feel, they get the same effect. So thank you all for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give that thumbs up. Let us know what you thought of this in the comments section down below. We greatly appreciate the feedback. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.